We've got an example of corruption that is so insidious that you're not gonna believe it. And it almost made it by without someone noticing it. And it has to do with Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Tesla. So you remember that $400 million thing for armored Cybertrucks, which was already utterly corrupt. The idea that, Donald Trump gets to be president, so he's gonna hand over $500 million to Elon Musk. That's crazy. Well, it's actually worse than you thought. They say the cover up is worse than the crime. I don't know if that's in this case, it's actually worse, but it's pretty bad too. And so what originally happened was the Biden administration had asked the agency, the State Department, to explore interest from private companies to produce armored electric vehicles. Okay, so they opened up a public request for information to gauge interest and heard from only one company, Tesla. Okay, so they had allocated $483,000 for electric vehicle purchases. And so I guess they were gonna do it under Tesla because Tesla had been the only company that at that point had actually put forward a bid for a very small amount of money. That's like 4 Cybertrucks. That's not a lot of money at this point. Okay, so a former White House official familiar with the plans, this is according to DropSite, suggested that the $400 million allocation that we've been talking about was a deliberate move, not a clerical error. Okay, so the State Department and Tesla had agreed to research armoring electric vehicles under Biden, but no funds had been earmarked for armored Teslas. The approved less than $500,000 budget was intended for light duty EVs, and another $3 million was set aside for supporting equipment like charging stations. The revised procurement document that changed it from 400,000 to 400 million indicates it was originally published in December at the end of then President Joe Biden's term, but it doesn't appear in the Internet Archive for that month, which means that not only did they change the number, but they backdated it to make it seem as if Joe Biden had done that rather than them. So they changed the number from 400,000 to 400 million. They made it armored Teslas rather than light duty electric vehicles, which in theory could have been produced by Rivian or Chevy or whatever, other companies. And they tried to change the paper trail, it looks like, to make it seem as if this was Joe Biden and not Donald Trump. Again, handing over nearly $500 million to the richest person in the world, who also happens to be his co-president right now. And so Ryan Grimm has been spreading this on Twitter. DropSite News did great work in journalism in unveiling this as well. I mean, this is particularly insidious. And again, as I say, chaos, crime, and here, corruption. And possibly also crime. We'll have to see about that, but definitely corruption, Francesca.
I hadn't been across this story in terms of what the new White House's line was. Was it that this was a Biden purchase and it was always going to go through?
That's what they're implying with the changed paperwork, yes.
Well, right, so, but it's again, like just do the corruption. Just do it. I'm now like, what again? This is like drawing your attention to it. So now exactly, you're so fragile about how corrupt you're being. Elon's trying to cover his ass, even though it's hanging out for everyone to see, to make it look like this was a Biden move. And by the way, it was gonna be $400,000. What's that, 5 Teslas, like 4? Yeah. Like there's just a few Teslas, and then the deal was never necessarily signed. And they're like, let's just add some zeros. That's so pathetic.
It's grotesque, grotesque. Yes. Well, with that said, we'll see. Again, people are saying it's only a crime if someone will actually investigate it, and obviously they won't, because it's a lawless regime. The DOJ, the FBI, all of that has been taken over. It's the personal lawyers of Donald Trump. They are above the law, and the law does not exist, certainly not for millionaires and billionaires. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?